Oh my God! Wait, wait,
Nice to see you, brother. What's
Yeah, I was just going to go right down on the road.
and I was so disappointed because I was like, radio, and they were like, no, it's not the radio. It's going to be something. They didn't have a cell phone. It's just they were like, and I could not wrap my mind around
Technically, I would be considered a baby buster. Buster is a half generation between baby boomer and Gen X. It's children of the 70s, children born in the late 60s or the 70s. So you identify with it is possibly my favorite mashup album is the Wu-Tang Hip Hop. And from the 90s, mashed up with the Wu-Tang. But there's also Beatles mashed up with the Mr. Big. And then there's a whole mashed up with anybody. And also, I love you just think that the channel as a music person, and since I still have it, I go, and I just put my hand in my pocket and go, so there's also a folder you just delete everything on it and just put 4 notes of anything, because I have a terabyte that I fill up with music. I have a program on my music laptop that tells it, it can read everything. So you can say, oh, this is a Bee Gees song. Oh, we have that Bee Gees song. We don't need that. Oh, we don't have this Bee Gees song. So 500, it's short of 500 gigs. So that I get rid of the album collections that you have, the CD collection. And then it just got into because you can now carry a whole collection in a hard drive. I wish my father passed away in 97. I wish you could have seen what computers became, because he loved computers. But, and this is these are yeah, so just check it
We've got Laura and Cynthia.
She's saying, come on back. Come on back. So it may be a little, you don't need to put it back. That doesn't matter.
One of the things that I have learned in therapy is that our culture is not good with endings or closure. Most of us will cut and run when it is no longer working for us. Whether it's a job or a relationship, we just, as Americans, we're not good at closing. So what I want to do is give us an opportunity to really appreciate these last number of weeks, where I think we have had the best summer prosperity class ever this year. And understanding the risk that I take by allowing people to come up and share. And understanding that if we close you down, it's not personal, it's just about time. I want us to go back to the very first night of this class, which was a fire walk. It was, for many people in this room, the very first time that they walked into this center. And they walked in to come to a fire walk. For others of us, it was one of a long series of fire walks, always amazing. And John did his magic, taught us about fear and how to walk through our fear, how to not give in to fear, how to not be afraid in life, whether we walked or whether we didn't walk. And I remember how freaking hot that fire was. I know there was somebody in here in the debrief that said, oh, it wasn't hot. God bless you. I will come sit at your feet. For me, the fire was very hot, and a lot of that was, it was the very first time that I had ever tended a fire for a fire walk by myself. And with the conversation with Christie's leaving so very, very fresh of 24 hours prior to the fire walk, that was part of my experience. But what I saw was how even in the midst of things being hot and hard, people's lives totally changed. So here we all were. Liz, you got the feeling back in your leg and your foot.
Yes, and
You got the feeling
Still
back.
there.
How many years had it been?
about 18.
18 years of numbness gone as the nurse So if there's something in the room that really wants to be spoken, you can either stand in your seat if you speak loudly, or you can come up and speak into the microphone about that experience of the firewalk.
Want me to carry the microphone?
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, let's do that.
I don't, we used to do the fire walk tonight, on the last night of class. And then we started doing it on the first night of class because we can use that growth experience that we kick-started the class off with. And I don't want to end the class without going back to some of the important points that we've had.
Who wants to share? Stand up.
I wasn't gonna stand up, I was gonna cheat. But anyways, one of the main things that I learned that's actually come across the whole class, even though I missed a couple, I mean, it started like 2 weeks before the class even started. Prosperity is not just money. Prosperity is family. I have actually had some closure to some of my bio family stuff and realized that this is my family. There's probably not a person in here that has not touched my heart, honestly. And they're always there for you. I mean, even when you don't know they need to be, they're always there for you. And it's just overwhelming. I just feel full I'm so full right now.
That night of looking at our lives and all the resources, all the support that we get, and about what we can do with that. Anybody have anything extraordinary happen out of that night? There's some awarenesses I know that night. Now they're shy.
Not about that night.
Whatever you want to say.
Out of this course, I did something I swear that I never thought I would ever do, and I forgave my ex-wife.
I have no idea how big this is.
How many people were at the fire walk? Yeah, just throw a word out into the room.
Empowerment.
Empowerment. Love.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Equality.
Tranquility.
Support.
Support.
Confidence.
Confidence. Shifting.
Right.
Unity.
Inspiration.
Inspiration. There's a man's voice over here.
Right.
Faith. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't it amazing? I mean, whether you walked or you didn't walk, it was equally amazing. Just to go, and there's still coals over there. We still haven't cleaned it up yet, you know? There's still coals over there if you want to go snag some. And it's such a little pile now compared to what it was when it was alive and in our face. And that's the way life is. And when it's right there in our face, it's 6 foot high flames and singe. I mean, I've just got the eyelashes coming back on my lids from that. So when it's there, it's big, and then we do it, or we do whatever it is ours to do in the moment, whether it's walk or not walk. Honestly, it doesn't matter. and then we go back and look at it, it's just this little pile of some little black coals left out there. That's all that it is. And that's the process of life. But if we ran away and hid from it, it would always be the big fire in our life. Bill?
It's more than the little coals that are left, it's the energy that's in this room that came from that night.
Right, the healing that came from that is amazing. Amazing. It's funny, one of our colleagues called and said, oh, you don't want to do fire walks at your center. We were all, oh, yes, we do. Yes, we really, really do. Yes. Great, great. And then the next class, John was gone, and this has been an interesting dance of John and me, and then John and me, or John or me, or whatever. But then we talked about that green sheet that we handed out and said, what is it that you want? You get to want. So many of us are taught we don't get to want, we shouldn't want, we mustn't want. And I said, you get to want. What do you want? Write it down and then tell yourself that you've got that every morning and every evening. How many people still have that paper and are still doing it? Good. Those of you who aren't, dredge it back up again. He's saying, go to sleep with that on your mind. This is what I have. This is what I'm willing to give for it. This is what I'm willing to be for it. In the morning, awaken to that idea of this is what I have. This is what I have. This is what I desire, and this is what I accept. And what we're doing is we're filling ourselves up with that positive, uplifting thought that is setting the creative force in motion so that it shows up. I love the stories in the book about people who are mega millionaires who started with nothing. We think that people are just born with silver spoons in their mouths. They aren't. They pull themselves, pull yourselves up by the bootstraps, they say is impossible. They lift themselves out of poverty. Poverty thinking, poverty lifestyle, poverty finances, by taking control of their thought. And then the next week we talked about persistence. We said, don't be a wimp. Don't wimp out on yourself. You're the only one who can stand up for yourself. Nobody else is going to do it but you. You're the one who can, so don't give up. Keep on keeping on. Stay the course. Be the captain of your ship. Determine your destiny. Allow that persistence to carry you through. And how many of you are still feeling that dogged determination that I'm going to have what I want to have come hell or high water. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care what I have to let go of. I don't care who I have to forgive. I'm going to do whatever I need to do so that I can have what I want to have. So I can be a money magnet like Lynn Villa. So that I can experience. She just gets up in the morning and money finds her. Because she has spent years training herself how to be that magnet. It's not that money's not there. Money's all around you. Money's looking for you. Looking, knocking, ringing, chasing you. All we need to do is stay with that idea that we get to be rich. We get to have our lives show up. We get to have money show up in our bank account all by itself. We get to have a pension for the rest of our lives. Kathy's got it. Margaret's got it. That's ongoing money. We get to have that if we don't give up on ourselves. And then we talked about tithing. And just very spontaneously, I said, does anybody want to share? And we had the most amazing stories of people standing up here and saying, I practice the spiritual art of tithing. I take every dollar that I get and give to where I'm spiritually fed 10 cents for every dollar, $1 for every 10, $10 for every 100, $100 for every 1,000. I do that so that I will stay in the flow and so that I will demonstrate my faith. Because when we say, oh my God, I can't do it, we've moved into the world of duality, we've moved into the world of not enough, and that's what we create. And so for the period of this class, in order to be in the prosperity program of the Think and Grow Rich prosperity program where we do our affirmations every day, we asked you to tithe 10% to this center, to give you 6 weeks and a day of practice. And those of you who had not been tithers before, I'm interested in whether or not there's something that you would like to share about that. Kristen.
So I just started tithing really at the beginning of this class, and I've started working with Lynn, coaching me, and it started, because I've had a lot of fear about tithing, but I was more afraid of going to Lynn and saying, I chose not to tithe.
I think that's well-placed fear.
And I've been keeping she gave me one of her sheets that she has, and there has been an increase in my income. I'm still working on getting just the random money, but I have overtime every single week now. And my bosses go out of their way to text me and say, how much overtime do you have? We'll make sure it plus some is approved because we know you're going to get more hours than what you have right now. And I think what's really mostly shifted for me is it's easier to keep a budget and stick to it. And I have money now at the end of every pay period. And I'm not having to scrape or, am I going to sell clothes or how am I going to make ends meet? And so it's just this more like, it's not a windfall yet, but it's just comfort in knowing that I kind of always have money now, and it's really nice.
Marcy, this is the fascinating world where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. You think you can't make it on 100%, you give 10% away, and you have more than 100% left in the end. Hi, Marcy.
Hey, it's good to be back. I have come and gone from center for a while, and it's really interesting how when you get back into that flow of tithing, and I tithe hundreds of dollars this class, which is way more than I ever have, but I just stood out in faith and know that it's coming back. And it's been a really interesting time during this class because I had a friend that was in hospice that transitioned, and my kitty cat also transitioned. And her vet bill was $500 when it was okay. The money was just there, and I paid off all my credit cards, which was about $1,500, $2,000. Wow. And I have another friend that's in hospice now, and it's been a very emotional time. But I know everything's gonna be okay. Death is not a bad thing. It's just part of life, even though it's very heavy, and just to be able to have that money flow in and flow out, and tithing is just so important. It's everything, so thank you.
Hey, Marcy. If we're creating our experience, then that faith that everything is okay, that I always have more than enough, that I can watch things show up out of the blue, that is so helpful. It's so helpful so that when the triggers come and the fear comes, we've got something to stand up to that with. No, wait a minute. I always have more than enough. I don't know how I have more than enough because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, but I always have more than enough. And whether or not the windfall comes or not, I love what you said that night. You said that I always have more than enough, and that's all that matters. You wouldn't be looked at as this really, really, really rich person, but you live that rich life. Because people who have millions and millions of dollars that still worry about money, what have they got? They've got nothing. And someone who's got more than enough, my science of mind teacher, Bill Tolliver, used to say the difference between a rich person and a poor person is a penny. All it is a penny. If you have a penny more than you need at any given minute, you're rich. And if you have a penny less, you're poor. So it doesn't really matter. We have this idea that says we have to be millionaires and billionaires and have that outward designation on us to be valid and to feel good about ourselves. Really, all we need to have is more than enough. And if we have more than enough to do what we want to do, to go where we want to go, to buy what we want to buy, and to have what we want to have, then we have plenty. And anything else is just judgment. So in our movement, in the path of the class, we went into this idea of our purpose.
He's got one on typing.
Oh, sure, David.
Okay, just real quick.
Hi, David.
I was really fortunate to sort of have the beauty of tithing open up to me by my dad, Francis Leahy. I got the great pleasure and experience of helping him teach several classes here. And he always worked that in. That was always a major part of every class he ever taught, was he expressed how tithing works and what it means. And I was able to actually see or understand from him that the tithing isn't an if-then situation. It's not if I tithe, then something great happens. The tithing is the great thing that happens.
Yeah.
And that was a huge revelation for me. It's like, I don't care what happens on the then side. That's not my issue. It's not my worry. My concern is I want to be able to give as much as I possibly can whenever I can, as often as I can.
Right,
And that's the beauty of it.
right.
Beyond that, doesn't matter.
Exactly, exactly.
That sounds like Francis.
I heard Marlo Thomas commenting on Robin Williams' passing and saying how generous Robin Williams was. And she was quoting her father, Danny Thomas, who used to say there are givers and takers. And the takers may eat better, but the givers sleep better. Thank you, David. It's all about that moment of creation, and it's electric. It's electric. So as you give that gift, know that you are commanding all of the power of heaven and earth into form. That's what you're doing. And you can choose to stand in your faith, or you can choose to stand in your fear. And if you choose to stand in fear, you'll create that. And if you choose to stand in faith, even when you have no idea how things are going to work out, things work out. You know, money just doesn't scare me. Not having money scared me. I learned how to have money when I was on food stamps and welfare and getting plasma twice a week. I'll never go back there. I'll never go back there because I know how to have money, because I know how to have a penny. Those of you who say, well, all I found was a penny, that's the difference. That's all the difference in the world. A penny is it. You found it. Congratulations. So then we went to John's purpose and vision and support, and where are we going? And where are we going in a year? Where are we going in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, or 50 years, or whatever you took them out to?
The rest of our lives.
The rest of your lives. And which one was the most difficult?
The rest of our lives.
That's the one, the rest of our lives, because most people can't think past 5 years, at least not easily. It took some work, but they did a great job. They really found stuff. You get a little long time.
To get all that done.
That's what life's about. It's about the journey. So if you have plenty of things planned for your journey, you can stick around and do them. I think that's a great idea.
Right.
How many of you know your purpose today? Good for you. That's wonderful. My purpose is to reveal and release the power of divine presence wherever I am and whatever I do. I live that every day. You're doing a nice job with it tonight.
Does anybody want to share about that night? Did it change you? Do you have more today than you did then?
I just want to share about, please. I want to share about purpose. When, I mean, you know, I'm a no spring chicken. I thought I always knew my life purpose because it was always in the stuff that I did. You know, I was going to be a famous writer, I was going to do this and that was the purpose. And I realized that wasn't my purpose. It was just what I did at that time. And it was so big a breakthrough for me because it took all the energy of the doingness out of it into the equation and put in the beingness, and the purpose is only beingness. And once you have the beingness of the purpose, all you do is related to the purpose. It takes the waste of energy and puts it all into the energy of what your purpose really is. And like your purpose, you can go to the restroom and talk to some guy, and you're fulfilling your purpose.
That's right.
You're revealing divine, you know, His godness too, wherever you're talking, whatever, you know. But that's just an example. But it doesn't matter what you do. You know, once you reveal your purpose. And it really surprised me because I was so stuck on the doingness of being a writer. And now I really don't care about the writing, but I do it because I like it, and you know, but it's the beingness of it, and then it doesn't matter.
Good for you, Tom. Talk about sex, talk about bathrooms. Who else? Did you find clarity that night?
Yes.
Good, good. Prosperity is not about money, but until you have money, you don't know that. You've got to be able to create money to move on. I often say that prosperity is science of mind 101, because it's the first thing to get out of the way. There, with your lack of focus on money go all of your excuses as to why you're not who you've come here to be, as to why you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
The Sunday before the prosperity class started, I gave everyone a quote on Sunday morning at the end of my talk from Jim Carrey. And paraphrasing it, it was, he said, I hope everyone gets everything they could possibly desire, all the fame and money and belongings, so that they could figure out that that's not what life is about.
Right,
I thought that was so brilliant.
right.
Obviously, him and his millions, he found out that's not what life is about. There's something richer than that.
So we've talked about tonight creating family and connection and support and faith. We've talked about finding our purpose. And then we moved into the nitty-grittiness of forgiveness. And I took you on a process, something that I don't usually do. I usually stand up really high and say, come up here, instead of saying, okay, let's all go jump into it for a while so that we can come up a little bit cleaner with a little bit less baggage. And as we brought up these ideas, I mean, Tom, I've known you for 15 years, and that ex-wife has always been right in your face, no matter who you were married to at the time. And for you to say that you forgave her was huge.
Leaving no one for a shock to me.